So it's very important that as we are in the education system, like most of you are, that we touch base with what's happening in the community. We have to touch base because, for me, I am educated for my community. All of you, you are getting an education for your community. So whatever it is that you are thinking about, whatever ideas that you want to come up with, whatever solutions that you want to come up with, they must make sense and speak to what's happening in Matari. Right?
Yeah.
Because the master's tool cannot dismantle the master's works. And I'm taking this from a lady called Ordinary Lord, right? I think what she meant to say is that we cannot operate in the same way as what our oppressors operated to colonize us, to oppress us, to keep us back, right? Because that system was there to make us think that we are beneath, and we are not beneath. So if we want to come out to the forefront, we cannot think the way that they were thinking. We cannot behave and act in the ways that they have been behaving, right? How many of us believe in God here, for instance? Go to church, mosque?
Nobody.
Some of us do. Okay. So my belief is that if the foundation is faulty, what shall the righteous do? Right? It means that, okay, we are starting to build here, okay, like a house. When you're starting to build, you build a foundation like a house. You build that, right? That first. So now, if there is already cracks there, what do?
Take it down.
You must dismantle. You must dismantle. But before you do that, what do? You check what caused it, right? You check, like in our case now, you check the history, right? And just now we heard about our history, about your history in Kenya. What happened for things to get here? That is the first thing you do. So as has been said, we, because I'm also African, as much as I'm based in South Africa, but trust you me, we've got the same issues of no electricity. And some parts, they still have got pit toilets. And some of our children there, they fall into those toilets and they die. Imagine you're falling into a pit toilet. This is even better, I think, because a child can't fall in there and drown in there for hours before they die. Just imagine that, right? But that is our reality. So our realities are similar. Where I come from, there's a township just like this. I was like, Haibo, I'm in Langa, Cape Town now, as I came. It's similar things. But the discomfort I was speaking about was when we are coming to conferences and we are put away as if we are not meant to see what's happening here, that is wrong. Because everything that's happening there today, we're talking about migration, we're talking about psychology, we're talking about gender stuff, feminism stuff. It's happening here, right? Yeah. But we must not be removed. So we now here need to put ourselves in. Okay? So the title of my talk, I said, is The Truth We Know Shall Set Us Free. The answers to our problems are embedded in indigenous, African-centered knowledges, and these are in our communities. The people that oppressed Kenyans, Africans, whether they're in Nigeria, Morocco, South Africa, right? We were told they destroyed our archives and they fed us with their own perspective of the truth, right? Their own perspective of the truth. Is our truth in those books?
No.
We don't know, right? Well, no. because it is the perspective of somebody else. Now we need to find our own truth.
Yes.
When we begin then to find our own truth, then perhaps we'll discover then who we are. Like, who are we as Africans? Who are we? Are we who the books, the history books says we are? Are we savages?
No.
Are we uncontrollable human beings?
No.
Are we baboons?
No.
The books most, you know?
Yeah.
So, are we people who can't think? No. We can think. The mere fact that all of you guys are here, it means that we are thinking agents. And if you are a thinking agent, it means that you are an intellectual agent. Right? You cannot think if you don't have intellect. You can't. And you don't need to go to school to be able to think. Right? But you need to get a form of education to be able to make sense of that kind of thinking. You need to be able to learn how to organize thinking. And that is why getting an education is important. All right? So I said that we need to understand our history first, and we need to so that we can uncover our truth, right? Then we need to find out who we are, our identity. Who are we, right? And our identity, then we need to understand where we are located. In other words, we are human beings, and as African people, we believe in community. Am I right?
Yes.
We are human beings. We are in a community. So the reason why on Saturday I am here, and I only arrived on Monday morning, and by Monday afternoon I was already at the library, and I met people, and already I had formed bonds, and I was able to be invited and accepted this because African people are communal people.
Yes.
Last year I went to Norway. I spent 3 days not talking to anyone. It was terrible. Terrible. I had to go find a church to be able to at least say hello, hi.
Oh.
Yeah. I Googled where is the nearest church,
Oh, yeah.
just so I could say hi. That's Norway. But I am now in Africa, Kenya. I even thought that I would spend Monday by myself, relaxing, doing nothing, thinking, sleeping. No, nobody gave me that chance. Because African people are communal people. We are a community. So when you want to understand yourself as an African, when we want to understand ourselves, we need to think of us, okay, first as I am an individual, fine, but I belong to a family. The family belongs to a community. Right? The community belongs to a society. The society belongs to a country or a nation, like that. So we are not individual. So then when we want to understand ourselves, we need to understand ourselves in terms of that. And the nice thing, sometimes good, sometimes bad, sometimes complicated, is that as African people, our families are not even blood family. You might even find that the auntie you think is your auntie is not really your biological auntie. They were adopted and you don't even know. You may find out when the person dies. That has happened to me a couple of times. I am so convinced that this is my grandmother. Like my grandmother, I had an uncle. He was my grandmother's uncle. Only when he died and I was already an adult, 26 or 27, that I found out that no, he was adopted. Like he was adopted. So my whole life I thought I had this person. So why am I saying this? I want to say to us that our identity, number one, is important. So when we then want to solve our problems as African people, we need to understand who we are. The some of the frameworks and the theories that we are taught through what I will say the colonial system, right, don't work for us. We will always keep wanting to go back to whom we are, and those systems may not work for us, like your psychology. I am one. I'm a psychology scholar. It says work with a person. So if I'm gonna work with you, understand you, I must only look at you. Your values, your wants, your needs, your dreams, your goals. It teaches me not to pay much attention to everybody else here. And then what's gonna happen? It won't help this person, right? Because that person isn't wired like that. And it will look then like those strategies that they are given are that this person is wrong, the person is rebellious maybe, this person doesn't understand maybe. So it won't work. It will not work. So then to be able then to help this person, I need to understand this person in context, right? In context.
Hey, Subindi. I'm very happy to see you.
Me too. Sawa.
Great.
So, are you following so far?
Yes.
So, to be able for us to solve any of our problems in the township of Madere, we need to look at ourselves. First of all, our history. We need to look at ourselves in context, right? We've got the history part sorted out. Now, what is our culture? What is culture first? Can anyone just explain to me what culture is?
Culture, language, where your mother came from.
Yeah.
And the decision of my whatever area government can take you or the decision.
Peya. Cool. Okay. So, culture, right? Now, what is the culture? So, our culture is most, I said most, that's South African way of saying, aha, something like that. So, what is our culture here? What is it? Our culture is something is our lifestyle. It's derived of our values, our morals, okay? Just our way of doing things. So if we want them to solve any problem, we need to understand our culture here at Madere. We need to look at ourselves like an introspection, right? Because that also tells us our identity. Your identity. I keep saying we because Africans are interconnected. I cannot think of you without thinking of myself. Even though I'm not talking here about me, but we are interconnected, right? So pardon me if I'm saying we. Well, deal with it. This is we. It's Africa. We are Africans. So if you have a problem with it, do some introspection. We are in this together.
Yeah.
Coloniality affected you as much as it affected me. So this is our problem.
Yes.
Yeah. So we need to look at our history. We need to look at our culture. Then we need to look, and that will then tell us who we are. How did we get here? Okay? If now the police are killing children, and I imagine that the police are Africans, like me and you,
Yeah.
because I saw plenty of them, the ones that are wearing green clothes. It means that they have forgotten this element about connectedness, right? So before we even blame them, let's ask ourselves, but how did things get to this level? Before we even want to do something, let's find out, how come things are like this? Okay? And if we are going to use an African-centered way of understanding, we have to look at this thing in context. Who are the police? Who sanctioned them? Who gives them the rules? Who expects them to do these things? Why are they thinking the way in which they are thinking? Because they live with you guys here, right? So why is it? What is making them do this? Remember, we are interconnected, right? When I say we, I don't mean me and you only. We, the community, right? Right. So, do we here know all the answers? No, we don't know all the answers.
No.
Is one perspective enough? No. So, here I see that I made note that there's a coordinator here of an organization. There is social justice here. There's Mkomboza Library here. Right. But there are other structures who are not here. And those are community assets. By community assets, I mean people who are very important in the community. Our elders who have been here for centuries, they know how things were. They can tell you where things go wrong. And you can then, based on what they are telling you, fit the puzzle together. There are other perspectives. Religious leaders, they're amongst you yourselves because they are the ones who are also involved in decision making. Am I wrong? No. There are ward councillors. Are they here today? Ward councillors are not here. So now, these are examples of people that you want to get on board to be able to get a contextual understanding of what's happening here and together think about possibly how change can come. Right? So, in the community are different people with different perspectives. There is this saying that a tree does not make a forest, meaning one perspective cannot complete the whole puzzle, right? So we bring people together because we are a community-oriented nation. Are we not?
Yes.
I think we are. And then, when you are then thinking about a solution, right? Remember, we are in Africa. As much as we will read about what the books say, we need to read the books in context, because what has worked for a different community or a different country or whatever journal article you may have read, right, may not be applicable to here, because knowledge is not universal. Many people have said this. Bembe has said this, Gwingi has said this. Many people whom you've read have said that knowledge is not universal. In the same vein, communities are not homogeneous, right? But when you are coming together, you are then finding one voice. You are bringing all these structures together, and you are wanting to form, to create something that works for here. So, how do we together solve this issue? When you have then managed to bring everyone together, right, with all their different perspectives, you then want to create solidarity. Am I right? That you want to have one voice, right? And as you are thinking about the solutions again, you think from here. Those who are scholars and intellectuals here, there's a book out by Kopano Ratele, thinking from here, right? So all of you guys are gonna come and say, and situate yourself to Madare. Think from here. What's happening here? What are the issues here? How do people think here? How do people behave here? And I'm just saying, I don't have the answers because I am not from here. But all of you know the details from here. Also very important as you think from a particular place and trying to solve the problems of a particular place of here, also check how do we speak of ourselves? How do we speak of the police? If they are your neighbor, how do you speak of them? What do you say? Got you. What do you say to them, about them? What does this elicit in them? And it is not only about the language that is used when we are speaking to them, but what is the language that they are using also? Because this then tells you what they are thinking also. So what I'm trying to say is that when you are trying to find solutions for our the communities, the bigger the context is necessary. Okay, the history, the culture, the identity, the language used. And also, if we take into the same example about the police that kill children, what is the meaning of that? What is the meaning associated for that? I'm not based here, but I can tell you, if children are being killed who are meant to be the future of a place, a move is made to make that place extinct.
Yes.
Because then there will be no future. And you said that if you die, your children will take the struggle over. Which children, if they are being killed?
No. It's true.
So what are the meanings attached to the violences that is being enacted here? What is the meaning of that? What does that signify? Okay? In South Africa, in the apartheid era, the police were black people like me. And many of you know that South Africa is very much racially divided. Okay? So the police back in the day were black, and they were the ones who were sanctioned to police other black people. And what they did is that it divided us a lot. So you found that our communities, they took that anger out now between themselves. So there was a divide. The common people then now killed the police, and there was that division. So if the police are sanctioned by a white supremacist authority, what is your thinking about ruling to divide? The police are here in the community. They are your neighbors, they are your family, and they are killing your children. Is there cohesion then?
No.
In the community? Whose agenda is that? Think beyond here. Think beyond what you are seeing with your eyes. Analyze things. Because things are not, if we as black people, African people, don't get into a habit of analyzing things and we only act immediately, we will miss things. Right?
Sure.
We need to take some moments to just think and strategize.
Yes.
And I am proposing that let's not solve our problems using colonialist mentality of oppression.
Yes.
Violence was used to oppress us. Violence is not even in our nature as African people.
Yes.
It's not in our nature. Violence was used to oppress us. Colonialists came and they forcefully, in South Africa, removed us and from the cities, right? From the good places there. Forcefully removed us, put us in the rural areas, put us in the townships, forcefully did that. Right?
Yeah.
When they came, we were, like what I'm seeing in Kenya, open, friendly, accommodating. And those things did not work for us. I mean now physical violence. Do you now think that the same tools are going to solve the problems here? I don't think that the master's tool can dismantle the master's works. I think that in a community set up like this, there may be community cohesion, ways of doing things might be a solution. Right? And when and the word I use is indigenous knowledge systems. Indigenous does not mean old, it means original. It goes back to identity and culture. Although culture evolves, like the way we do things evolve, but there are things that are fundamental about us. Our personhood. That doesn't evolve. The fact that I came here, example, and my SIM is not working for some reason, I didn't panic because I knew I would meet people here and they would help me without any problem. That's an innate thing about our culture. So there are things about our culture that evolves, but there are things about our personhood, which is part of our culture, that does not evolve. So I'm saying that let's just come back to our Africanness. Is there such a word? Is there such a word? I don't know. Let's come back to our African being to solve our problems. Okay, I'm done.